Welcome back to another week of the Weekly Wineaux. I am Mickey Martin, your friendly neighborhood wine guy slash sommelier slash whatever you want to call me. Back again, talking about the kind of the anatomy of wine, the inner workings of wine today. If it's not playing on the Ralph's Facebook page, somebody let me know. If anybody's watching and you don't see it on the Ralph's Facebook page, let me know. Hey, what's up, Cheryl? Because it wouldn't let me update the title or anything like that, so I have no idea if it's working. Cheryl, is the Ralph's page working? Can you hear me and see it on there? Or are you watching on my personal? Let me know. Shoot me a little comment, please, and let me know. But anyway, the inner workings of wine, the anatomy of wine. What's in the bottle? What's going on in there? What do we see in there? What happens when it gets in the glass? We're just going to go through some things like that because it's you need to know. You need to know what's happening. I have a lot of people ask questions a lot of times about certain things that go on in there, and we will go over that and talk about it. Shoot, I forgot one of my props, so I'm going to have to get up and shoot out of the screen here. Okay, good deal. Thanks, Cheryl. But I'll go grab that in a second. Anyway, housekeeping as usual. Wine Gala, get your tickets, man. They're going. And I don't want anybody to miss out. It's Friday, November 3rd, $69.99 a person. Amazing array of food, 80 plus different wines to taste. All the fun you could possibly have at Le Berge, dancing and music and all that. And then, of course, you've got Le Berge built in for your pre-game and post-game shenanigans. That should be unbelievable. It is a great Gatsby theme, so get your flapper dresses and whatever the dudes wore in the 20s. I got to figure that out and get my outfit going here pretty soon. But anyway, yeah, that's the wine gala. And then the day before, just to let Ralph's customers know and keep you up to speed, we have our big one-day meat sale the day before the wine gala on Thursday, November 2nd. That is the best meat sale in the area. You cannot go wrong. It's unbelievable what you can stock up on. I've already got people ordering stuff like through me, which is pretty incredible. You know, we're 2 months out, and I got people trying to reserve stuff already. And then the gala's the next night, and Bama's the next day. So 3 fun-filled days in a row of just incredible stuff. Buy your killer steaks on Thursday. Come taste some great wine that you can go pick up later on Friday, and then Bama on Saturday. Cook some steaks, drink some wine during the Bama game, which we're pretty much going to win. It's almost a guarantee this year. But anyway, that's it for that. So that's about it on housekeeping. We've got some things going down here at the store. Supposed to be getting our remodel ramped up again here pretty soon, is what I've been told. We'll see what happens. I will be doing resets at the stores, meaning lots of new wines coming in. We just got rid of a bunch of wine for the one-day wine sale, and some dogs that weren't selling and stuff like that. And we'll be putting in a bunch of new wines here in the next few weeks here at the Pelican Point store, and also up the store up the road. And that's about it. So if you want any requests for wines to go in the stores, now's the time. Y'all know how to get a hold of me. I'm super duper easy to find. I'm all over the internet. I'm the least hidden person in the world, either fortunately or unfortunately, whatever. But that's about it. So yeah, all that. So inner workings of wine. What is wine? What is in it? What is going on with certain things that happen that you see in the bottle or in your glass and all that kind of stuff. So we'll kind of jump around a little bit about certain things, and I'm kind of just going troubleshooting and solving problems and letting you know what's going on with certain weird things that happen in wine bottles or to wine bottles as they sit on shelves or in your cellar or in your house. Wine is alive. Wine is always rocking. I now have a bug in my wine that I'll get out in a second here, but I have a little surprise inside this glass. Not the bug. The bug is a surprise too, but I have a little surprise hidden under the wine that I'm going to show you in a little bit. But this is a glass of 1992 Beringer Chabot Vineyard Cabernet Sauvignon. Absolutely freaking amazing. Customer, a very good friend and a customer, opened it at his house earlier and said, "Oh my God, this is amazing. Mickey has to try this." So he brought over the rest of the bottle to me, and now I'm about to finish my little taste here in a second. But like I said, there's stuff in the glass there that I will show you in a little bit. Let's look at a wine bottle. So let's look at one that I could possibly sell. That's a taste that somebody just left with me to taste that I'm not even allowed to have. So we'll do this. So Chateau Buena Vista, North Coast, Cabernet Sauvignon. First thing I do when I look at this bottle is I see that it's a screw cap, and I want to talk real briefly because we've talked about this ad nauseum. Uh, the difference between a cork and a screw cap is null and void nowadays, especially on wines like this. This is a nice quality wine. This is not your Boone's Farm. No offense if you drink Boone's Farm. But it's barely wine. It's actually not even considered wine. It comes on a different invoice that isn't the wine invoice when it comes, because the actual government doesn't recognize it as wine for good reason. It's a fruited, sugary juice basically with alcohol in it. But again, everything, if you love it, then it's great. Then it's great. And I drink wine. It's Boone's Farm. Fantastic. Call whatever you want. That's no problem. But the screw cap on a Boone's Farm is just pressed tin. It's not meant to age the wine or anything like this. This little sucker right here, we've talked about before, is called a Stelvin enclosure. And you can't really see it in there, but there's that white lining that you see. That is actually an engineered piece of stuff. I don't know what you call it. Piece of thing that is engineered to work like a cork. It lets minute amounts of oxygen into the bottle, which helps the wine age, and it keeps out most of the oxygen, and it keeps the wine in. So a screw cap wine will absolutely hold wine. I can shake it as much as I want. No drips are coming out. They're not going to. You can put it on its side in your wine cellar if you have to. You don't have to, though, with a screw cap. It's kind of a newfangled thing that you do not have to store this on its side because it does not need to keep the cork wet. That's why you use a cork, is to stay expanded, keeping most of the oxygen out and most of the liquid in. Over time, that changes, and we've talked about the runs on the side of the cork. We're not going to talk about that again. But yeah, screw caps are okay. So get over it. It's not a bad thing at all. All the wines I have in front of me right here are please do, Cheryl. Thank you. Are screw cap covered wines. Each wine I have in front of me that I'm going to taste tonight are all screw cap. One of them, like I said, I'm not even allowed to have. It's so exclusive to restaurants. And then the other two we'll probably have on the shelf here pretty soon. But screw cap's no big deal. So once you get the bottle open, you've pulled the cork, you've unscrewed the cap, and you're getting into it, and you may want to inspect the cork. I have a cork around here. You may want to inspect the cork. And when you inspect the cork, all you're doing is looking at it, maybe squeezing it to see if it's too soft or super soft or whatever, but you don't need to smell it. It's not meant to smell. I know we've all seen that in movies and been told that, a lot through our lives. I thought that for a long time. Back in the day, hey, they present the cork, they put it right by your glass if they're doing it right. And then the person who's tasting the wine, who ordered the bottle, is supposed to pick it up and smell it. Nope, you don't smell it. You can't tell nothing about a wine by smelling the cork. What you're doing is looking at it. Like we've talked about that before. You're looking for the wine that ran. If so, maybe it wasn't stored right and all that kind of stuff. But you're not there to smell it. So now we've gotten past that, and the bottle is now open. What do we do with it? We pour it in our glass, right? Sure. First thing I do typically every time that I open a bottle of wine is smell it. And before I even pour it, because there are certain things that you can tell by smelling the bottle before you even pour a glass. Is the bottle bad? If you smell wet cardboard or cat's pee or something like that, chances are you got a bad bottle. Not necessarily all the time, especially if it's got some age on it. Not necessarily all the time, but for the most part, that is what we call corked. And again, we've talked about this before. Corked is a chemical that's gotten it. It's just a natural thing that happens at wineries and everywhere that you produce anything. Is this TCH, not THC, TCH gets into stuff. And if you don't fully sterilize your bottle, and even the cleanest, most efficiently, amazingly run wineries will still have corked bottles. It's just a thing that happens. You can't get around it. Maybe you can cut down on it by being meticulous about your sterilization and cleaning and all that kind of stuff. But even then, you're going to have cork bottles, and it just happens. And you can tell that by smelling right away if it's bad. Sometimes it's very, very faint, and you'll never know. One of my friends in the industry has an unbelievable nose for it. He can smell stuff that I can't smell for sure. I'm pretty good at it. And then you got other people that are in the industry that have no clue. They can't smell it at all. So you tell them, "Yep, this is corked." They're like, "No, it's not." I'm like, "Yes, it is. Yeah, that is 100% corked." And like, if Brian, if our friend was here, then he would tell you, "Yes, 100% it's corked." But you'd go on, and sometimes I don't even tell people. I'm just like, "Yeah, no thanks, I'm good." And sometimes the wine still tastes okay when it's corked. You don't have to pour it out. If it tastes good to you, it's good wine. Go for it. It doesn't do anything to you. Hey, what's up, Tony? How you doing, bud? Tony says he's going back to the screw cap thing. Uh, Cousin Tony. Hey, Cousin Tony. Um, so he said, "Wait, where's my chat? What the heck's going on here? There it is." So Tony says, "Are the screw cap wines as good as Boone's Farm screw caps?" And like we just talked about, not even close. Boone's Farm is the best thing ever made. No, Boone's Farm uses tin, and they just press it. It doesn't do anything to save the wine. And the Stelvin enclosures on newfangled wines are really, really good. But you knew that, and you're just playing with me, Tony. But I appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow, brother. Um, so anyway, we're down past. We've talked about the cork. We smell it. Okay, now what are we doing? The next thing we want to do is, what is the wine? What are you drinking? Are you drinking a white wine? Are you drinking a really light, sweet white wine? And it's already cold and you're ready to go. So you pour yourself a glass and get rocking. Or was the wine on your counter? Did you just bring it home from the store and it's basically room temperature and now you're ready to drink it? What do you do? Well, what I really try to do, but I don't do all the time, but I wish I did. I don't drink a lot of wine at home anymore. I get to taste enough wines throughout the week with vendors and stuff like that, where I don't drink a lot of wine at home anymore. So, but if I was still a normal wine drinking consumer where I had to go buy my wine and all that kind of stuff, I would, every time I open a bottle of red, a Cab or Merlot or something like that, I am going to open it and stick it in the fridge for a couple minutes, because chilling the wine down, one, slows the molecules down and kind of just relaxes the wine, rather than, hey, it got warmer and it relaxed. Now it gets cooler and it relaxes a little bit. Everything just kind of slows down in the bottle. It's not trying to go crazy or anything like that. So I open the bottle, fridge, few minutes, 10, 15, 20, 30, whatever temperature you like to drink your red wine at. That's how long you put it in there for, and it works out pretty good, especially in the summer. Hey, Mom. It works out really, really good to chill your reds just a little bit. They drink better, they stay better, especially if you're outside and you bring your bottles of red out there. They're going to warm up way too quick. You need to basically keep them on ice if you're outside. Keep them in the fridge, keep them on ice, and just watch the temperature. You don't want to leave them submerged in ice like a white wine, but that to each his own. White wine, opposite. I get home with a white wine, I put it in the fridge. I wait for it to get cold if it was just sitting on the shelf at a store, and then I open it and let it warm back up for about 15, 20 minutes. Because fridge temperature at 34 degrees, 36 degrees, whatever your fridge is at, is way too cold to drink almost every wine at. Champagne, yes, straight out of the fridge, good to go. Everything else needs a minute or two to warm up and get the molecules and everything that in their wine going again, because it will deaden down the wine if you drink it at 38 degrees. Now, again, if you're drinking $6 Pinot Grigio by the pool and it's 104,000 degrees out here like it was in August for us, then by all means drink it straight out of the fridge, and you can throw ice in it for all I care. Don't recommend it. It does dilute the wine and whatever, and lowers the alcohol. Ooh, bad for Louisiana. But it's up to you. If you want iced down, chilled wine because it's too hot outside and you don't care about how the wine tastes or the pedigree of the wine or whatever, and it's $6 Pinot Grigio, who cares? Just do it. Put ice in it. Have a good time. If you were drinking a $35 bottle, $40 bottle of Chardonnay, I wouldn't throw ice in it. I just, keep it chilled and keep it cold. Pour smaller glasses, especially if you're, you're on the boat, you're by the pool, you're whatever. As long as you're near where your bottle of wine is, you don't need to pour a 15-ounce glass of wine to walk around. You can come back multiple times and refill your glass. So just pour a little less. Yeah, so that's about it on the hot and cold. So now we've gotten past the point where, okay, we are actually ready to drink our wine. So we pour ourselves a glass, and of course I don't have one because I'm waiting to drink this, but yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that first. So I've poured myself this beautiful sip of 31-year-old Napa Valley Cabernet from Beringer. Beringer is amazing, by the way. It is not 1.5 liter jug wine. The best wines that they make are some world-class wines. It's why when I go to Napa, I like to take people to Beringer because it blows their mind, because most people have that connotation, that image of Beringer being just the $10 jugs that are on the shelf, and that is not what Beringer is. Beringer is still the only winery in the history of the world to have a number one wine in the red category and a number one wine in the white category in the top 100 wines in the world. No other winery, nothing in France, nothing in Spain, nothing in Italy, nowhere else in the world has that ever happened except for Beringer. So, booyah. Anyway, so I poured my glass, and let's say, I got my glass down, and I'm at the end of the bottle, and I go like this. See that? That is just dirt. Skin molecules, whatever. Ooh, that top one looks like a woolly mammoth or something. That's pretty cool. Or a horse. That's pretty neat. I had one time where I poured it out, and it was like Japanese writing. It was pretty cool. I took a picture of it, but I can't find it right now. But anyway, that is just what we call sediment. Sediment is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So when you come across this in your glass, then you are basically wanting. What this tells you is this is unfiltered and unfined. So to get rid of this, you could filter the wine, but it pulls particulates out, and this stuff actually will add to the quality of the wine throughout its aging process. And this is in just about every bottle that's unfiltered that you drank, which is most of the wine that you drank is not filtered. And so it's in there, but in its infancy, in its little baby years, 0 to 3 years of just being bottled, it's floating in the wine. So you still drink this. You're still drinking all of this stuff. It just happens to be floating in the wine and not settled to the bottom yet. So I don't have the bottle anymore, but do I have an old bottle laying around that has sediment stain? No, probably not. But anyway, as you start to pour the wine, if the bottle was laying on its side like this, you'll see sediment stuck to the bottle right here. So you just turn it over where the sediment's on the top, and you pour that way, and you'll get it less sediment out of the bottle at the end. But you still might have some sediment. That's quite a bit. Now, I'll tell you a little secret. You scrape that out of there and you spread it on toast. That's some good stuff right there. That's happy times. It is not bad for you. It will not hurt you. It's not gross. It's just sediment, which is little tiny pieces of grape skin, stems, seeds, whatever has gotten into the wine, maybe a little dirt, whatever. Dirt don't hurt. Good stuff. Really good. That's 31-year-old dirt right there. That's happy times. But not yucky. Nope, definitely not yucky. It's not for everyone. And a lot of people get down there, oh, my wine's bad. I'm like, no, that's not bad. That's good. That means they didn't filter the wine, which is what you want. You do not want it filtered, because filtering takes particulates out of the wine and takes stuff out of the wine that actually makes the wine what it is. So you don't want your wine filtered, and almost nobody filters the wine. 97% of all wine bottles are consumed within a week of their purchase. So you're never going to know that there's sediment in there anyway, unless you bought it aged already. So I mentioned another word, that's unfiltered. So you're going to get that sediment in there when it's unfiltered. For wines that are unfined, sometimes you'll hear unfiltered, unfined. Fining of wines is a way to pull the particulates out, the solid particulates in a wine. And this is really interesting. I didn't know this until, I don't know, a couple months ago, that back in the day, winemaking, to get this, somehow they figured out, and it was probably an accident. Somebody probably spilled something into the wine and didn't know. And then all of a sudden they found out, ooh, yuck, we spilled this in the wine. But look, all this stuff cling to it. Okay, cool. This is good. We should refine our wines, which is why it's called fining. We should refine our wines and pull all this yucky stuff out of there. Well, unfiltered, unfined is better in my opinion. But when you want to fine the wine, you need to put proteins into the wine. So the number one use nowadays, the number one way to do it nowadays, there's a different chemical process to do it nowadays and stuff like that. They're not necessarily chemical, mechanical, and stuff like that. But typically, the best way to do it is egg whites. So they put egg whites into wine, into whatever wine. The egg whites float because they're a much lighter density, which doesn't seem right, but it is. So the egg whites float, and it also, as it moves through the wine, and the wine's always moving. As it touches this protein, the proteins attach themselves molecularly to the particulates and hold on to them. And then as they drain the wine out of the bottom of the barrel, the egg whites are the last thing, and they stop about here. And then you've used all the wine. That's good. And the only thing left in there is these egg whites that are lots of crazy stuff stuck to them. It's really crazy to see. And that's it. So it's using protein. Well, back to my back in the day story. Back in the day, the first thing they ever used to fine their wines was pig's blood because it's protein. And oh, I got to put this one up there, Mom. So yeah, that's my mom's comment right there. Thanks. Yeah, I'm just really into wine, so I just learned a lot about it. But anyway, thanks, Mom. Love you. So I don't even know when it was, 1800s, 1700s, 1400s, whatever. Pig's blood. Probably the first time it ever happened, it spilled into the wine. And when they went back to check the wine, there was this stuff floating on top and all these things, this little dirt particles that they thought maybe stuck to all this stuff. And then they figured out, oh my gosh, the pig's blood was right here. And then when we came back to get it, it was only half full. It must have spilled, maybe little Jehoshaphat spilled it into the wine and didn't tell us because he didn't want to get in trouble. But look what it did. This is amazing. Now we've discovered this. And if we get all the wine out of the bottom of the keg, out of the bottom of the barrel, and then stop it, put the plug back in before any of the pig's blood gets in because it floats, which is weird too to us. Blah blah blah, whatever. That's probably actually what happened. Who knows? I don't know for sure. I don't know if anybody knows. But they started using pig's blood and other animal blood to fine their wines. Once wine started being actually bottled for commercial use, that became a no-no. Obviously, people were like, "Oh, you put pig's blood in my wine? Gross! Da da da. No wonder your wine's bad. Da da da. Whatever." So that stopped pretty quick. But they figured out as they started being able to figure out a little more about the world of molecular science and chemistry and stuff like that, that it was actually the proteins that were doing it. So they started figuring out egg whites and any real protein. I mean, you could throw a piece of steak in there if you wanted, and it would actually work okay. It wouldn't work nearly as good, but the egg whites are pretty incredible the way they do it. I've seen it in action, and it's pretty awesome to see the way that it works out. So that's fining and filtering. So when you get that in your wine, that sediment, that means your wine is unfiltered, unfined, and again, not a bad thing. So you get to the bottom of a real nice bottle of wine and you see a bunch of that in there. Typically a sommelier at a restaurant is not going to pour all of that. If you've ever been to a super nice restaurant with a great wine program, you'll see that, let me get something here and try to show you if you can see the top of my glass. No, not really. Okay, I'll just do it this way. All right, so you can see my glass there. Pretend there's no sediment in it. I'll turn it like that. So in a super nice restaurant, they will do a actual presentation of wine, and it's pretty incredible. I had to do this back when I was a saw them with Morton's quite often. And as you're pouring a really old, aged, nice, expensive bottle of wine, you're pouring it and you pour the glass, or you're decanting it, say. But the last little bit, there's sediment coming. There it is in my glass. There's sediment coming. So what they do is they light a candle and they set it. You're going to pretend if there's a floor right here, there would be a candle where my finger is. There's a candle right there so that the sommelier can see through the bottle and see where the sediment is, so they can pour every last drop and catch the last bit of sediment in the shoulder of the bottle right there. So they're pouring and pouring, and they have the candle there, and they're looking, and they see the sediment, and they keep pouring, and then all of a sudden the sediment's getting to here, and then they stop, and they leave the bottle on the table. And then if you want to pour that last quarter to half an ounce, and it has all that sediment in it, you by all means go for it. You can pour it in your glass. The sediment will settle to the bottom. You'll still get that quarter ounce to half an ounce. But as a sommelier, we're not supposed to pour that last little tiny half an ounce or whatever and leave the sediment in the bottle. And then it's up to the guest, up to the customer to decide whether they want the rest of that and whether they want to deal with the sediment or not. And that typically comes down to education or not. I don't mind it at all. Obviously, I just ate a bunch of it. It's very, very good. It is completely 100% loaded with resveratrol. Resveratrol is the agent in more in red wine than white, much more, that they've actually pulled out of fruit and wines and things like that, and are using in makeup. What's her name? The girl that gets on there, the hyaluronic acid, and all that kind of stuff. Whatever commercial that is that she does. One of the big ingredients in the anti-aging creams and things like that for ladies and men, and all that is resveratrol, and it is kind of a reverse aging thing, which is why I look like I'm 26, because I drink so much wine. Correct? I look like I'm 26. Okay, good deal. But yeah, that's about it for the filtered fining and stuff like that. What else is going to happen in your glass? The wine is going to age quickly and rapidly. The surface to air ratio, down where the wine is much bigger than if you left the bottle sitting open. So let's see. Let's try this wine I'm not allowed to have. We'll see what happens there. So this is a Raymond North Coast Cabernet Sauvignon. No, you cannot get this at my stores. You cannot get this at any store. This is for restaurants only. I just am lucky to have some great friends in the business that let me taste stuff like this. And today it just worked out that my sales rep that came by just left me all the wine because she had to go really fast. So I have all of her wine, and I can drink as much as I want tonight if I want. No, I'm just kidding. I will not drink it all. But I'm still gonna use this glass. And what I'm gonna do is pour it down the side that has the sediment, wash it back into the bottom of the glass. So as I pour, there we go. I don't know what I was talking about. I forget. Whatever. I got wine now though, so that's good. So anyway, I'll just keep going, and it'll probably come back to me in a minute, and I'll just jump around crazy and awkward like I usually do. So what else is happening in the glass? Oh yeah. So anyway, the surface area. So as I'm looking at this open bottle of wine versus this wine glass, oxygen is touching the surface of the wine much more than it's touching it in this bottle. Whereas there's this little tiny opening here. Now, once it gets down to there, it's a lot bigger. And once you've poured a little, but once you open a bottle of wine, you're talking a dime size worth of wine, and just the top layer is touching oxygen. So it takes a lot longer for this wine to open up in this bottle than it does in a glass, which is why there's also decanters. Decanters, if you've seen them, you have to have seen them. If you drink wine, you probably know what a decanter is. It's a big glass with a usually a widened out bottom. I don't have one here. How do I not have a decanter here? How is that possible that I don't have a decanter here? I don't know, but I don't. So any of my reps watching, I don't have a decanter here. I need a decanter here. Somebody bring me a decanter, please. Anyway, glass contraption that starts out like a wine glass, this big opening, but then it flares out a lot at the bottom to allow a much bigger surface area where the wine is touching the oxygen, and it just rapidly uh, ages the wine, for lack of a better term. It opens, you let your wine open, and that's what all that is aging. It's just it's rapidly aging the wine, much quicker than the wine should age. But you've already opened the bottle, you're going to drink it. That's why it's in the decanter, and you've opened the bottle, you're going to drink it, so it doesn't matter anymore. But you're letting the wine open. Some wines you want to open at breakfast and don't drink them till dinner. Some wines you want to open Friday and don't drink them till Sunday. There are wines out there that really need to open up drastically. My Friday tasting group people, we've discovered wines that have just gotten better and better over weeks, like leaving them open, just leaving them open on the counter at my friend's house, and then comes back the next week. We're like, yeah, it's getting there. It's good still. It's not great. And you come back. We had one go 7 weeks where it just got better and better and better. Most of them are like, oh, okay, this week it's not ready. Let's bring it back next week. And then we drink it the next week, 7 days later. Sometimes he'll call me in the middle of the week and be like, man, it's drinking phenomenal right now. I'm not sure if it's going to last till Friday. Like, all right, cool. And maybe I'll stop by his house and try a sip or whatever. But it's all about that oxygen that is finally touching the wine and aging it and stuff like that. So what's happening in the glass right now? It's oxygen is happening, and then we swirl it. And what does that do? That swirls the wine, so that the only wine that's touching oxygen is not that thin layer of wine sitting on the top. We swirl it so all the wine eventually just swirls around and gets to touch that oxygen, and that releases aromas, and that's how we do wine tasting. I'm not going to go through that whole thing right now. And I just shook up all my wine, so now all my sediment is shaken up in my thing. Oh, well, whatever. But that's what's happening in the glass, and it's moving around. It's doing its thing. It's aging, opening up. Let me read you my notes from one of the best sips of wine I've ever had in my life. Let's see here. I didn't know I was going to do this, but this is perfect. So I'm going to do it. And let's see here. It's way back here. Where are my notes for the Spanish wine? There it is. Okay, so I'm going to read this real fast, and then I'm going to tell you about one more thing in the glass, and then we're done. So just hang on for a sec. So I was tasting a 2001 Cune Gran Reserva Imperial Rioja, which was the number one wine in the world from that year. It was absolutely phenomenal. And here's what I did. So I opened the bottle at 7:45 p.m. and I wrote, amazing, cedar box, berries, leather on the nose, balance, and an earthy touch at first taste. Gives way to an amazing wine. It could be one of the top 25 I've ever tasted. Probably is. Complex, layers upon layers of dark fruit and spice with a smoothness that is enticing. So then I went back at 8. It was not ready to. I was like, I got to put this away. So I left the bottle aside, and we were drinking something else. So then at 8:30, this 45 minutes later, 8:30, even better, more fruit, bigger and more expressive. A slickness is starting to emerge. So I'm like, all right, 8:30, put it away. Let's try it again in another half an hour and see what happens. So that's just letting the bottle sit there. I did not decant it. I just let the bottle sit there, and it opened. Why are you doing that, phone? And it just started opening up amazingly. So at 9 o'clock, hour and 15 minutes after I opened it, spicy with 3 exclamation points. The nose is much darker than when first opened. Plum, cassis, and a nearly perfect balance have shown up. That's at 9 o'clock. Half an hour later, angels are singing. Now, granted, I've been drinking a little wine in between these half an hours of tasting this wine. So angels are singing. Disco balls have dropped from the ceiling. This wine is incredible. Perfectly balanced. Great acidity adds to the overall awesomeness. Dark, rich, almost like it's getting younger. The terroir is very evident. I feel like a kid again. So that's at 9:30, which is an hour and 45 minutes after I first opened it. 10 o'clock, still rocking. This could go on for hours. The bottle's gone. I might cry. And then 10:30. So here we are, 2 hours and 45 minutes in. Again, super great acidity. It's barely starting to show its age. It's almost 3 hours open, and it's as good as it was when I first opened it. I'm now sobbing profusely as I only have 2 sips left. And then at 11 o'clock, the last sip. Kill me now. I hate not having more. I may have to open another bottle right now, which means I'll get no sleep, which is well worth it for one of the best wines I've ever tasted in my life. And that's what opening a bottle of wine and letting it breathe will do for you. Not always to that extent, but yeah, pretty awesome to let a wine open and revisit it every half an hour or so and kind of take notes when you have a really special wine, or just notice how it's open. You don't have to take notes like that, obviously, but just to take notice on how it's changed since you first opened it. And that'll happen with white wines, red wines, anything. As they open up, they will show different qualities and all that as they go. So anyway, last thing about what's in the wine to look for. Something that happens quite often. People people get upset about the sediment thing. I'm trying to get people not to. The other thing is wine diamonds. So what are wine diamonds? Wine diamonds look like broken pieces of glass in the bottom of your glass. And if you pour out the last bit of the bottle and these crystals come out, we call them wine diamonds. And all they are is tartaric acid, calcified tartaric acid. Tartaric acid is what they use to make cream of tartar, not tartar sauce, cream of tartar, which is used in baking, I believe, or something like that. But tartaric acid definitely is in wine, especially white wines. So sometimes you'll pick up a bottle even off the shelf if the bottle had a little age to it, or they let it sit in the bottle at the winery before even boxing it up and shipping it to consumers or to retail shops or restaurants or whatever. The bottle could have been sitting there and it develops these wine diamonds. That's just, again, the wine is moving and living and doing its thing, and the tartaric acid runs into each other and it's like, oh, hey, there's my buddy. I'm gonna stick. And then another one comes, boom, 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 boom. Pretty soon you have these crystals that form really small little crystals, and they look like diamonds in a bottle. And people are like, oh my God, my bottle has broken glass in it. And I tell my people down at the bottom, I'm like, do not let people return an open bottle of wine without calling me, because typically they don't know what's going on, and I want to educate them. I'm not gonna not take the bottle back. I'll take it back if they want. That's no big deal. But the purpose is to educate them. So my people down there, they're like, yeah, we'll return it. We don't care. Whatever. I'm like, dang it. I'm like, you should have called me, because I would have liked to know who it was and all that kind of stuff, and have a little conversation. I said, hey, these are wine diamonds. These are cool. But you'll see it also when you pull a cork sometimes, as you know, because the wine, oh God, I almost did it with an open bottle. The wine sits like this, cork, the tartaric acid, the crystals will attach themselves to the bottom of the cork. So you pull the bottom of the cork out. You pull the bottom of the cork out, and sometimes it's just littered with crystals. And I know I have a cork around here somewhere. I have a bunch of them at home that are like that. I keep that for purposes of education, so that when I do a show like this, I can show people. And now I don't have one to show people because I never get prepared in time, but whatever. But anyway, you'll pull the cork, and on the bottom will look like little crystals all over, and it's really shiny. It's really cool. And you rub your hand over it, and it's really hard and like sandpaper. But those are what we call wine diamonds, and they're just calcified, like I said, tartaric acid, which is the stuff they use to make cream of tartar. And that's about it. So anyway, if there are no more questions or anything like that, I appreciate y'all for watching. We will be back next week. Will we be back next week? Yeah, we'll be back next week. And we will be, I don't even know what the topic's going to be, but we'll be back next week. So, yes, and good question, Mom. So the crystals that are typically in wine are, yes, typically bigger than a salt crystal. The ones that attach themselves to the bottom of the cork are look like salt crystals, possibly. They're real fine and small and stuff. But if they form themselves in the bottom of the bottle, typically they look like the size of like a 0.5 carat to 1 carat to 2 carat diamond. And they shape themselves just like a crystal. It's pretty cool looking. But you can eat those too. You just take it and eat them. People and oftentimes people will return the bottle and be like, "There's broken glass in my bottle. How are you selling this stuff?" Like, it's not broken glass. It's tartaric acid. You can eat it. It's not a big deal. They're like, no, it's broken glass. I'm like, okay, sounds good. Have another bottle. See you later. But anyway, all right. Weekly Wineaux signing out. Appreciate you guys. Love you for watching, and we will see you next week. If anybody has any questions as you're watching this not live, feel free to put them in the comments, and I will answer as we go. And if you want to watch this on YouTube instead, I am now streaming this to YouTube as well. I'm going to get that going. It is streaming to YouTube every week, but I'm going to get that going and have a much more produced show as soon as I can possibly do it. So anyway, love y'all. Thanks. Peace.